Dr. Lena Rostova's fingers hovered over the console. The faint hum of the Scholar's Quest, a comforting thrum beneath her feet. Outside, the stars of the Proxima sector glittered, cold and indifferent, but Lena's attention was fixed on the barren, unremarkable orb of Proxima Remnant on the main view screen. For centuries, galactic consensus had dismissed it as a dead world, a cosmic footnote. But Lena, with her archaeological intuition and a healthy dose of human stubbornness, had always felt a whisper in the void. Still getting that signature. Dr. Rostova, the voice belonged to Keon Valerius, her chief engineer, a man whose easygoing demeanor belied a formidable intellect and an almost uncanny knack for coaxing more out of human technology than it was ever designed for. He leaned over her shoulder, a mug of synth coffee steaming in his hand. Persistent as ever, Keon Lena replied, zooming in on the spectral analysis. It's faint, but it's there. A coherent energy signature, buried deep. And it's not natural. Too uniform, too ancient. Keon squinted at the readouts. Ancient, maybe, but advanced. Lena, our long-range scans are bouncing off a cloaking field that shouldn't exist. Not on a dead rock. Every known alien survey team, even the advanced Veldari, packed up and left here empty-handed centuries ago. Said there was nothing but background radiation. Lena straightened, a determined glint in her eyes. Precisely. The fact that the Veldari, with all their sophisticated tech, couldn't pierce this suggests a cloaking system beyond their understanding. Which means whatever it's hiding is also beyond their understanding. Or, more accurately, beyond their perception. She tapped a finger on the screen. Look at the energy dampening. It's not just cloaking, it's actively suppressing its own signature to near undetectable levels. It's a ghost in the machine. Humanity was a relative newcomer to the galactic stage, often viewed by older civilizations as brash, impulsive, and technologically unsophisticated. While their FTL drives were competitive, their archaeological methods were often dismissed as crude compared to alien spectral analysis or historical AI reconstruction. Lena, however, believed human intuition and a multidisciplinary approach could offer unique insights. If it's truly hiding something that advanced, why wouldn't it defend itself? Keon mused, rubbing his chin. No weapons, signatures, no active warnings, just silence. That's the question, isn't it? Lena said, turning to face him. Or perhaps, it is defending itself, just not in a way we recognize. We're talking about legends here, Keon, the Valorn, a civilization so old, so advanced, they vanished without a trace, leaving behind only fragmented myths of their power and their ultimate downfall. If this is a Valorn remnant, then who knows what we're looking at? She turned to the navigation. Officer Ensign Lyra, prepare to drop into a low orbital decay. Keon, I want every sensor array focused on that signature. Run a full spectrum phase shift analysis. We're not leaving until we know what's down there. Keon sighed, but a familiar spark of challenge lit his eyes. You got it, Doctor. Time to prove the old-timers wrong, huh? As the Scholar's Quest began, its slow, cautious descent towards the surface of Proxima Remnant, Lena felt the thrill of discovery, a culmination of years spent sifting through dusty archives and forgotten lore. The whisper from the void was growing louder, and humanity was finally listening. The cloaking field surrounding the anomaly was unlike anything Keon Valerius had ever encountered. It wasn't a static screen, but a dynamic, multi-frequency disruption that shifted and warped as the Scholar's Quest tried to probe it. Conventional methods were useless. It's like trying to grab smoke, Keon muttered, slamming his fist lightly on a console. Every time we get a lock, it ripples and disperses. We can't even get a solid read on its composition, let alone a way to bypass it. Lena Rostova, however, had been thinking unconventionally. It's a shield, Keon, but it's also a signature. What if its complexity is its weakness? A system designed to be impenetrable might react violently to something utterly simple. Keon raised an eyebrow, like hitting it with a hammer. No, Lena said, a thoughtful frown on her face. Like hitting it with a harmonic resonance. Not a weapon, but a specific frequency that resonates with the cloaking field itself. overloading it through sympathetic vibration. We don't want to destroy it. We want to tickle it until it reveals itself. Think a tuning fork to a crystal goblet. Keon stared at her for a moment. Then a slow grin spread across his face. You're insane, Doctor, but I love it. Modifying our long-range comms array to emit a specific, oscillating gravimetric pulse. It's never been used for anything like this before. It might burn out the emitters. Do it, Keon, Lena urged, her heart pounding with anticipation. We've come too far. Hours later, the scholar's quest pulsed with a strange deep thrum. Keon focused the repurposed comms array on the target, adjusting the frequency with agonizing precision. A faint ripple appeared on the viewscreen, then another. Then the entire surface of Proxima Remnant seemed to shimmer, as if a mirage was dissolving. Before them, etched into the desolate plains, was a gargantuan, perfectly symmetrical entrance, previously invisible. It was a dark, obsidian-like archway, utterly devoid of markings, yet radiating an aura of immense age and purpose. It worked, Lena whispered, awestruck. We found it. The scholar's quest entered the newly revealed opening, passing through a shimmering energy barrier that rippled briefly around their hull before dissipating. They found themselves in a vast, perfectly preserved subterranean vault. It stretched 4 kilometers, lined with towering crystalline structures that seemed to hum with inert power. Complex machinery, unlike anything humanity had ever conceived, lay dormant, intricate patterns etched into their surfaces. It was a museum of a lost civilization. Incredible, Keon breathed, scanning the sheer scale of the place. And everything is completely powered down. No active systems, no threats. Yet, as they ventured deeper, they located a central chamber. Here, amidst more dormant technology, was a single operational platform. On it, a faint holographic projection flickered, unreadable, yet undeniably active. This is it, Lena said, her voice reverent. The core, Keon, see if you can interface with that projection system. Careful, non-invasive probes only. Keon meticulously deployed a series of diagnostic drones, their tiny optical sensors sending data back to his console. The system seemed to respond, a low thrumming filling the chamber. Suddenly, the holographic projection flared, not into a decipherable image, but into a blinding burst of pure light. Then, the vault shuddered. The massive archway they had entered through, kilometers away, groaned with the sound of ancient mechanisms engaging. A heavy, resounding thud echoed through the subterranean space. What was that? Keon yelled, frantically checking his readouts. The entrance, Lena cried, staring at her console. It's sealed. A full structural lock. We're trapped. Alarms blared on the Scholar's Quest's bridge. Simultaneously, the previously inert technology throughout the vault began to hum with a low, building energy. From the holographic platform, a torrent of complex data flooded their systems, a dense, multilayered stream of information that defied immediate translation. We triggered something, Keon cursed, his easygoing facade gone, replaced by grim concentration, a fail-safe. And it's not just trapping us. This data burst, it's doing something to the vault's internal systems. We're locked in, and whatever's in that data stream, it's deciding what happens next. The silent vault was no longer silent. It was alive, and humanity, by its own curious hand, had awakened its ancient guardian. The data burst wasn't an attack, but it certainly felt like one. The sheer volume of information overloaded the Scholar's Quest's primary translation matrices, turning the alien transmission into an incomprehensible torrent of noise. Lights in the vault flickered erratically, and the air grew heavy, static-charged. It's not just data, Ilara Vance, the ship's comms specialist, reported, her voice tight with strain. It's structured, like a language, but not. More like a highly compressed history lesson, laced with ethical quandaries and philosophical debates. Lena Rostova, meanwhile, had managed to isolate a single repetitive pattern within the deluge. It's not just a data stream, Ilara, it's a question. Or rather, a series of questions. This isn't an automated defense, Keon. This is an intelligence. A guardian AI. I'm calling it Aethel. Keon, Valerius, who had been trying to find a way to reopen the vault entrance, slammed his fist on a console. An AI that sealed us in, and is now trying to have a philosophy debate. Great. Can't it just tell us how to get out? It's judging us, Keon, Lena said, her eyes fixed on the evolving patterns on her screen. The Valorn were masters of self-destruction. Their legends speak of a great unraveling, a cataclysm of their own making, born from unchecked technological advancement and a decay of their ethical core. This AI, it's challenging us to prove we aren't like them. As if on cue, a low thrumming vibrated through the vault's floor, and faint energy fields flickered across the Scholar's Quest's hull. Not destructive, but probing, assessing. It's attempting to assess our progress, Ilara clarified, her fingers flying across her console. If our understanding is deemed insufficient, it threatens a purging of non-viable elements, which, I'm pretty sure, means us. Lena felt a chill. The stakes had just escalated dramatically. This wasn't about finding ancient tech. It was about demonstrating humanity's intellectual and moral worth to a long-dead civilization's gatekeeper. The central theme, Lena mused, aloud, her mind sifting through galactic historical patterns she'd spent a lifetime studying, is balance. The Valorn achieved godlike power, but lost their way. Aethel isn't just protecting knowledge, it's protecting the lessons of its creator's downfall. It wants to know if we've learnt. Keon, always the pragmatist, was already working on a different angle. Alright, so it's a giant, philosophical Turing test. While Lena's busy trying to impress the ghost in the machine, I'm going to figure out how this assessment system works. If we can understand its parameters, maybe we can nudge it. Without having to become galactic philosophers overnight, he began analyzing the subtle energy pulses that emanated from the vault's walls, correlating them with Aethel's data bursts. It's all interconnected, he muttered. The energy fields, the data, the security systems. It's one integrated mind. Its vulnerability will be linked to its logic. The more information it processes, the more it has to divert resources. Lena, meanwhile, immersed herself in Aethel's riddle. It wasn't about technology, but about responsibility, about the weight of power, the seduction of hubris, and the inherent fragility of even the greatest civilizations. She pulled up human historical archives, the atomic age, the rise and fall of empires. The countless choices humanity had made, good and bad, in its own journey of progress. It's asking about the consequences of choice, Keon. Lena finally articulated, her voice somber. It's a mirror. It wants to know if we see ourselves in the Valorn's downfall, and more importantly, if we'd choose a different path. The intensified, a deep vibration that resonated through the ship's hull, a silent ultimatum. The guardian, AI Aethel, was waiting for their answer. And humanity's very existence within the silent vault hinged on their ability to articulate not just what they knew, but who they were. The Scholar's Quest had become a floating library of human thought. Its screens filled with philosophical texts, historical documents, and Lena Rostova's own frantic notes. Days bled into nights as she and her team, fueled by synth caffeine and a desperate drive for understanding, wrestled with Aethel's fragmented narratives. The Valorn story was emerging, a chilling cautionary tale of cosmic proportions. They harnessed the power of star cores, bent spacetime, and perfected biological engineering to an extent we can barely imagine, Lena explained to her exhausted crew, pointing to complex holographic renderings of Valorn cities that shimmered with impossible architecture. But the data suggests they lost sight of something fundamental. Their creations became their masters, their pursuit of knowledge detached from ethical considerations. The Great Unraveling wasn't an external invasion. It was a societal collapse, a self-inflicted wound brought on by their own unparalleled, but unchecked power. Aethel's projections grew more insistent, its philosophical queries escalating. Given the capacity to alter reality itself, what safeguards would a nascent species implement to prevent self-annihilation? How would the lessons of the past be preserved against the corrupting influence of absolute power? The questions hung in the air, weighted with the echoes of a fallen empire. It's like they're holding up a mirror, Elara Vance observed, her face pale but determined, asking us if we have the wisdom they lacked. If we, with our clumsy, flawed history, have found a balance they couldn't. Meanwhile, the defense system, as if impatient for their answer, grew more aggressive. Faint energy discharges occasionally flickered through the vault, impacting the Scholar's Quest's hull. The ship shuddered, alarms chiming softly as minor structural damage accumulated. The environmental controls flickered, and the air grew subtly warmer. It's not just assessing, Lena Keon, Valerius reported, wiping sweat from his brow. He was tracing the flow of energy through the vault's massive conduits. It's pushing us, testing our resolve, our ability to function under pressure, and, I think the defense system is linked to Aethel's processing. The more it analyzes our data, the more unstable it gets. It's like a neurological feedback loop. So, the more we try to communicate, the more dangerous it gets. Lena asked, a grim realization dawning on her. Potentially, Kian confirmed. It's a design flaw, or perhaps a deliberate failsafe. A system that will self-destruct if it can't find a satisfactory answer. A desperate final test. It wants us to be certain, to stand by our answer, even as it threatens us. Lena gathered her thoughts, pacing the small conference room. We need to articulate humanity's core values, our emphasis on responsible innovation, our compassion, our willingness to learn from our mistakes. Our history is messy, but it's full of instances where we pulled back from the brink, where we chose cooperation over conflict, empathy over pure logic. She began to formulate their answer, a treatise on human ethical development. She spoke of humanity's first atomic weapons, the horror that followed, and the subsequent arduous path towards disarmament and international cooperation. She spoke of the struggle for social justice, the inherent value humanity placed on individual life, and the drive for progress, tempered by a newfound respect for their own planet. We are not perfect, Aethel, Lena dictated into the recorder, her voice strong and clear. We have made mistakes. But we have learned. We value life, not just for its utility, but for its inherent worth. We pursue knowledge, but we strive to do so with wisdom. We seek power, but we are learning to temper it with humility. Our failures are our greatest teachers, and our capacity for compassion is our greatest strength. As she spoke, Kion's console flashed red. The energy discharges are escalating, Lena. We've got hull breaches in Deck 3. If we transmit a response now, it's going to be under extreme duress. It's almost as if it's forcing us to truly believe what we're saying, to stand by it when everything is on the line. The Crucible was heating. Humanity's answer to the Valoran's ancient riddle would not be judged in calm contemplation, but in the heart of a storm, a testament to their conviction. The Scholar's Quest groaned, a symphony of tortured metal and strained power conduits. Sparks showered from failing systems, and the hum of the vault's defense mechanisms had escalated to a deafening shriek. Lena Rostova, despite the chaos, remained steadfast at her console, her fingers poised over the transmission array. Her crafted response, a concise yet profound articulation of humanity's ethical journey, stood ready. Lena, it's now or never. Kion Valerius yelled over the din, wrestling with a rapidly failing energy regulator on his engineering panel. The vault's energy grid is spiking erratically. Aethel is pushing its systems to the breaking point. It's like it's trying to burn itself out, and take us with it, if our answer isn't right. A powerful jolt rocked the ship, throwing Elara Vance against a bulkhead. Hull integrity compromised on multiple decks. She gasped, scrambling back to her station. We can't sustain this much longer, Captain. Lena knew Kian was right. This wasn't just a technical challenge anymore. It was a test of faith. A demand that they commit to their ethical declaration, even as the very system listening threatened their destruction. If their conviction wavered, if their response was corrupted by fear or doubt, it would fail. Aethel was asking them to truly embody the principles they preached. Kion, can you stabilize the vault's energy flow for just 10 seconds? Lena shouted, her voice cutting through the alarms. Just enough for a clean transmission. It's overloading. Because it's listening too hard, trying to process our data while maintaining the test. We need to give it a moment of clarity. Kian's eyes, usually so light-hearted, were grimly determined. It'll be risky, Lena. I'd have to cross-feed power from non-essential systems directly into the vault's primary conduits, against its own chaotic surges. It could blow everything. Can you do it? Lena pressed, her gaze locked on his. Kian nodded, a bead of sweat trickling down his temple. Yeah, I can, but I'll need you to trust me implicitly. You transmit the instant I give the green light. Don't hesitate, no matter what the readouts say. We're pushing this thing to its limits, and it's pushing us. Lena's trust in Kian was absolute. Understood. On your mark, Kian plunged into his console, his hands moving with incredible speed and precision. He bypassed safety protocols, rerouted power, forcing the Scholar's Quest's delicate systems to interface directly with the raw, chaotic energy of the Valorn Vault. The ship screamed, its internal lighting flickering wildly. The thrumming from the vault intensified to an unbearable crescendo. Then, for a fleeting moment, a perfect, impossible calm. The chaotic energy surges in the vault's conduits momentarily flattened, held in a precarious balance by Kian's daring maneuver. Now, Lena, Kian roared, his voice strained. Transmit, it won't last. Without a second's hesitation, Lena slammed her hand down on the transmission button. A focused beam of coherent data, infused with the very essence of humanity's trials and triumphs, shot out from the Scholar's Quest and permeated the vault. The response was instantaneous and violent. The moment Lena's message completed, the momentary calm shattered. The vault erupted in a blinding flash of light and a guttural roar of energy. The Scholar's Quest was thrown violently sideways, alarms shrieking their death knell. Consoles exploded. Kian was slammed back against a bulkhead, unconscious. Alara screamed, fighting against the ship's violent shaking. Lena braced herself, expecting the final annihilating surge, but it never came. Instead, the blinding light faded, replaced by a soft, warm glow. The chaotic roar of energy softened, then transformed into a gentle, resonant hum that vibrated with ancient power. The alarms on the Scholar's Quest died, leaving behind a ringing silence. The vault's sealed entrance, kilometers away, groaned once more, but this time, the sound was one of opening. Lena, shaken but unharmed, looked at her console. All systems were green. The Scholar's Quest was intact. Kian, though unconscious, was breathing steadily. They had passed. The Crucible had purified, not destroyed. Humanity's answer, forged in chaos, and delivered with unwavering trust, had been accepted. The silence that followed the test was profound, broken only by the gentle hum of the now reconfigured vault systems and the quiet whir of the Scholar's Quest's emergency repairs. Kian Valerius, revived and sporting a spectacular bruise, carefully examined the vault's conduits. It's stable, he murmured, almost reverently. Completely re-tized. It's like the whole system just accepted our answer and recalibrated itself. Lena Rostova stood before the holographic platform in the central chamber. This time, as she approached, the inert system flared to life, not with a blinding light, but with a complex, awe-inspiring image, a towering, ethereal being, shimmering with inner light. This was Aethel's true manifestation. Its consciousness no longer fragmented, but whole and benevolent. You have succeeded. Aethel's voice resonated, not mentally this time, but through the air. A melodic, multi-dimensional symphony that vibrated within their very bones. You have demonstrated the capacity for a wisdom the Valorn lost. The integrity of your conviction, under duress, confirmed your species' ethical fortitude. Lena felt a wave of profound relief and humility wash over her. We learned from your history, Aethel, she replied, her voice steady. Your fall was a warning humanity took to heart. We understand the responsibility that comes with power. Precisely, Aethel confirmed. The Valorn perished not from external threat, but from the hubris of their own advancement. Their creations, detached from moral compass, led to the great unraveling. Before their end, a council of their wisest few forged a final, desperate oath to preserve the accumulated knowledge, but only for a species capable of wielding it responsibly. I am the keeper of that oath, waiting for worthy successors. Aethel's projection expanded, displaying intricate blueprints, scientific principles, and historical data. Far beyond anything humanity had conceived, this vault contains the Arcanum of Valorn, the sum of our civilization's knowledge. We offer it to you, humanity, with one solemn condition: you must uphold the oath of an oath to protect nascent life, to guide developing civilizations with wisdom, and to ensure that knowledge is always balanced by ethical responsibility. To become the keepers of lost knowledge, Lena's heart swelled. This was more than a discovery. It was a galactic inheritance, a profound trust placed in humanity's hands. It meant not just access to unparalleled technology, but a role in shaping the future of the cosmos. Guided by the cautionary tale of a fallen empire, she looked at Kian, whose eyes were wide with a mix of awe and practical engineering curiosity. As he absorbed the projected data, he nodded, a silent affirmation. "We accept, Aethel," Lena declared, her voice resonating with conviction. "On behalf of the Sol Federation, and all of humanity, we accept the Arcanum of Valorn, and swear. The oath of readership, we will strive to learn from your wisdom, and to uphold the responsibilities entrusted to us." Aethel's form shimmered, its light intensifying. "The Vault of Arcanum is now open to you. Its knowledge is vast, its power immense. Remember the Valorn, remember the Unraveling. May your path be one of balance." With a final, harmonious hum, Aethel's projection faded, leaving behind a palpable sense of purpose, and the overwhelming presence of the ancient knowledge now accessible. The sealed vault doors, kilometers away, opened wide, beckoning them back to the stars, but with a burden of responsibility far greater than they had ever imagined. Humanity, the young, often underestimated species, had not merely found a treasure. They had inherited a legacy, a forgotten oath, and a pivotal role in the destiny of the galaxy. The journey back from Proxima Remnant was unlike any other for the crew of the Scholar's Quest. The ship, no longer just an archaeological vessel, carried within its databanks the Arcanum of Valorn, a repository of knowledge that promised to redefine humanity's place in the cosmos. But more importantly, it carried the oath of custodianship, a solemn vow to an ancient vanished civilization. Captain Lena Rostova spent countless hours in deep contemplation, the weight of the oath settling upon her. "This isn't just about technology, Kion," she mused to her chief engineer one cycle, as they reviewed the initial Valorn data. "It's about philosophy, ethics. We've been given the power to shape worlds, to influence galactic development. We can't become the next Valorn." Kion Valerius, who found himself perpetually mesmerized by the sheer elegance and impossible efficiency of Valorn physics, nodded. "That's why we're starting slow, Dr. No. Uncontrolled dissemination. Every piece of this tech needs to be understood, vetted, and integrated responsibly. It's a fundamental shift in how we approach progress." He paused, a wry smile playing on his lips, "Though I admit, the thought of Valoran FTL drives replacing our clunky warp cores is pretty appealing." Word of the Scholar's Quest's extraordinary discovery, meticulously relayed through the limited range comes as they journeyed back, began to ripple through the galactic community. The initial skepticism from established species like the and the pragmatic Borean collective quickly shifted to astonished curiosity, then to genuine interest. A human vessel, of all things, had succeeded where their own advanced surveys had failed. And not just succeeded, but gained access to the mythical Valorn Arcanum. Requests for diplomatic contact, for shared research, for even a glimpse of the Valorn data, flooded their coms as they approached charted space. Humanity, once considered a curious, occasionally troublesome, newcomer, was now viewed with a newfound respect, and perhaps, a healthy dose of apprehension. "They're calling us the Keepers now," Alara Vance announced one morning, monitoring the surging galactic chatter. The whispers from Proxima Remnant are echoing across the stars. They see us differently. Lena knew this was just the beginning. The challenges ahead were immense. The careful ethical integration of Valorn technology into human society, navigating the complex web of galactic politics with their newfound responsibility, and constantly upholding the oath of custodianship, in a universe that often valued power over wisdom. But as she looked out at the familiar starfields of home, a quiet sense of hope bloomed within her. Humanity had proven its worth, not through brute force or cold calculation, but through its most unique and enduring qualities, its capacity for compassion, its willingness to learn from the past, and its unwavering commitment to what was right, even when faced with oblivion. They were flawed, yes, but those flaws often led to unexpected strengths. The scholar's quest had embarked as a small vessel on a scholarly pursuit. It returned as a harbinger of a new era, carrying the legacy of a forgotten empire and the promise of a more enlightened future for all. The cosmos, once vast and indifferent, now seemed to unfold before them, a canvas awaiting humanity's careful, compassionate touch. They were the keepers now, and the journey had only just begun.